want to welcome to our listeners. Like, subscribe, listen. And you know what, Jessica? Before we hop into the excitement of the red carpet that happened this week and your selection, what I want to talk about is if you decide to quit us, if you decide the podcast is not for you, I need us to have a conversation about how we navigate that on a podcast episode. Because I won't say who, but there is a podcast that I listen to. I love them. I think they're great. I actually wanted us to model our look they have a beautiful studio look, but they were talking about how they're ending their podcast after, I think this is their third or fourth season. And it was clearly some relationship issue. They kept saying, we're best friends, but I can never have a podcast or business or anything with this person again. It was literally, and I thought to myself, is that how, I don't know. If
You
you're
thought
going
to
to
yourself,
quit,
what is that? How I feel like you're like
I
thinking.
internalized it a bit.
You're asking if I'm silently. What is it called? Silently resigning.
Quitting?
What's
You
that?
you're silently quitting.
Yeah.
Are you silently
Yeah.
quitting? And I mean, and
No,
I don't think you're quitting. No, and it's a no.
I don't do
but
much
I will.
silently.
Yes, but I
Period.
will say when you're in a friendship and maybe that there's a situation, maybe you lend up money, maybe you went on a trip together, maybe
Oh yeah.
you went in business, maybe you went into business together. How do you end those things well? This is a sidebar, but I was just thinking about
It's not only this isn't a sidebar. You just started the conversation this way. This is the bar to start.
This is the bar that I'm starting. I'm just curious.
How do I normally, or you're asking like what's the best way?
Like, can you be direct and have this conversation and say and how do you work through it? Because I imagine
well, that's what matters, I think, right? If you want to work through it.
Yeah.
If you're just
I guess
like,
that's true.
We're done, we had a bad situation and like, let's go our separate ways, that's actually a lot easier of a conversation to have.
That's true. They were crying on the podcast. So I was a little like, this is getting, I'm like, I feel like what I felt was I was in there. Like sometimes there's personal conversations that are personal conversations. And then there's conversations that others want to hear. And although I kept listening, I will say this makes for a great last season. I also felt like they needed to work some things out before they hit the mic.
Yeah. But that's probably, again, like I think that's probably the issue. I have no idea who these people are or what their situation is, but
you won't say.
I think it's a lot. I definitely won't. I think it's a lot harder if you want to maintain a friendship or if you want to, like, if you have to try to like change the boundaries or like change the dynamic, right? If you're like, this kind of worked like this, but it can't work like this anymore, but we still want to be friends, but the dynamic has to shift and you have to change and maybe I have to change and maybe this dynamic has to change. Like that's actually like work. It's a lot easier to walk away from a friendship. It's like marriage therapy. There's so many people who'd rather walk away from a marriage than go to therapy.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And if you don't have to do it, why do it? Like, it's like a podcast is one of those things you're like, you know what? I don't have to do this. And, but you should, and I want to say, you should always enjoy what you're doing. And if at any point it no longer becomes enjoyable, you probably should walk away. But you know what I really enjoyed?
So thank you everybody for listening.
This will be
we want to share. This will be our last episode.
but what we're really here to talk about.
By the way, hold on. This is, by the way, you being like, what's going to happen is I'm going to figure out if you're going to leave me before you leave me. That's why that episode got to you so bad.
I gotta quit you before you quit me.
Someone seems off guard. Someone's off guard. This is not safe.
Let me see. And this is my pulse check, Jessica. If at any point you want
in this call, in this month, in this relationship,
right? Just
bitch,
put
tell
up,
me.
put up at two signs and say, "Girl, bye." Right? Just a little bit. What Jessica will do is just not pick up my calls. All of a sudden, I'll be like, you might,
Well, but yeah, I feel
you
like I
might
do that with
ghost me.
everybody.
Because they
Yeah,
talked
yeah, I
about
just ghost
ghosting. They
people.
said they could have ghosted each other instead of they decided to not ghost each other. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, what?
I feel like a ghosting okay, actually, now this is really gonna be a sidebar, but
This is a
I
good
was
bar.
just
I think this is
listening
fun.
to this is a good bar. I was just listening to, um, this thing on attachment theory the other day,
Hmm. Yeah.
and it was talking about, like, this framework of relationships that it's called the acronym they use is CARP, and um, it is it's consistency, attunement, reliability, responsiveness, and predictability. And it
Hmm.
talks about that as a framework for a friendship and how you should look at relationships with people and you can kind of I'm shorthanding this. So I'm like already it's pop sci already and now I'm like shorthanding it even more.
Right.
But it's basically saying like run relationships you have through those dimensions. And when you feel very good about the level that people provide you in each of those different kind of categories, that shows up as a secure relationship. And
Hmm.
it was so interesting to me because there are ones that you will find yourself valuing more than others just because of who you are as an individual. And so you place more weight on those, and maybe you don't place weight on the other things because they seem like second nature to you. And when really you should be looking at consistency across all of it. So, like, for example, attunement for me, I rank really high, right? It's really important for me that, like, I feel like people see me and understand
Okay.
me. That's that middle child energy. Like, I need you to see me, hear me, understand me. And I just take consistency um for granted because like
Mm.
I don't really keep people in my life who aren't consistent. But that's not actually true. Like when I started looking at my relationships, I was like, "Oh, I am like weighing this relationship so highly because this person is very attuned to me, but they actually don't show up for shit. And they are
They
not
may,
available and they're not
they may,
predictable and
they
they're
may
not
know your
reliable,
emotions, but they don't care. They're
but
not
they don't
calling.
give a
They're not
shit.
picking up
They
the
ain't
phone.
around. Right. And so it's a really interesting thing. I don't know. We'll put a link. Maybe we can share the link to the
I
thing.
think we need
Um,
to. I love this
yeah.
actually. I
And
actually think
so
we
it's
all need to look at this barometer in our relationship friend groups.
right. And to
I
think
love
about
that.
like where you value things more. And
Right.
sometimes you may be giving people passes in
Mm.
relationships because like with attunement, like, oh, it's fine. I don't care that they're not there so much. They understand me. And when I then you look at it and you're like, no,
They
the person
they
who
flake
shows
on
up
me
all the
every day.
time, the person who ghosts me, no, the person who shows up all the time plus gets me like maybe a little bit less, but they're always there and they're dependable and they're predictable. That's a
Mm.
secure relationship.
I
So
love
anyway,
that.
it
I
was
think
cute.
people should use sounds like people should be using this for selecting their next partners or
Carp.
partners.
Yeah, girl.
Carp,
Carp.
carp. I can ask me a carpe diem, seize the day, but
Exactly.
carp. Okay,
Anywho,
so well,
on to this is a timely episode. We have to start that by now. So saying
yes,
like, if you're turning on this episode in September and trying to catch up on what happened in the Oscars and March Madness, just skip this episode
this.
and
I
stop
don't
right
think
now and go to another episode.
keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. So listen, I don't know about you, but actually, I do know. You ain't watching the Academy Awards. You ain't watching the latest movie that just came out. I'm not sure about a blockbuster. But you will. You might have watched the documentary. You know,
You know what's
my
funny?
neighbors. Right.
They were all a little too heavy this season,
It's very
too
heavy.
heavy
Very
for
heavy.
me. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really actually wanna watch, Find Me in the Good Light. That was the one Tig
So,
Notaro,
yeah.
produced, but it's a little heavy
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me right
Okay.
now.
So yeah, Jessica's not into heavy. She's not into horror. She's not into drama. Maybe you might find her at a comedy, but I'm not sure. It's not going to happen. Probably not going to happen. So I will
No.
say, the Academy Awards happened this week. And there's a group of us. One of them is my best friend, who's also votes, and we always get the great movies from her. The other one is my longtime friend. She was on our podcast, Marcel. There used to be, when we all lived in relatively close, we all used to have a party. It was a big thing. But this year we were like, you know what? Let's use technology. So we had a
Were
pre-call.
you guys not all together? The way
No,
you made it sound was like you were
no,
hosting this whole so you made that whole sinner's meal for just you and Jen?
me and Jen, me and Jen, me and Jen.
Wow.
We eat
The
actually.
I know, but the way you were talking about, "We're about to have greens, we're about to have mac and
Girl,
cheese, we're about to have this,
and
that."
let's just be clear, I didn't make it. It was called delivery or it's called takeout.
Oh.
Let's just go crazy.
You know
Now
what's
I
funny? When
have
you were saying it and talking about it, I was like, "Damn, she's been up all morning making greens? Like,
girl,
she's doing
girl.
all this?"
Okay, let's don't be crazy. Let's stop.
I
So
really
no,
thought
so we
this was serious. I was like,
I,
"She's in the kitchen
this is
all
how
day
you
cooking these
think that
greens."
I'm not telling truth, but I just like I say it, and I was like, it's always a follow up question that I need. How you getting the
But you
food,
do
Tanya?
cook.
Oh, I do
So, of
cook.
course, I thought yeah, yeah.
I
And
mean,
you have a
I could have
garden.
thrown
So, of course,
down
I
and
thought you
right,
had
I
this
could have done it all, but why? Why? I
okay.
didn't have to.
Okay.
This is,
Gotcha.
so we did a pre-call talking
A
about
pre-call.
who, and then like this was a conversation that was
Pre-call
like
during the red
pre
carpet?
before the red carpet.
Before the red carpet.
We had to tap Tammy to go, okay,
Okay.
let us know. Because we were delusional. Because the
Right.
reality is, we thought Sinners was going to sweep.
I
Sinners,
told you this from the
Ryan,
beginning.
Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan, I will say, had 16 nominations, historical for a Jim Crow era horror movie. Let's say that again. Jim Crow era horror movie, right? And so we thought, I mean, I had no like in my concept that One Battle or the Ping Pong movie or any of those other silly movies was going to win. So we called Tammy and she said, no, they're not going to win.
Yeah, this
It's
is
not going to
okay.
happen.
This is the thing. So, this is what I will say about
We
you,
need to have
Tanya,
Tammy on.
when it comes to which we're going to talk about in this episode, like voting and things that are subjective. You won't. It's like
No,
you won't allow yourself to believe
no, never.
that other people are going to let you down. And I'm
And
like,
could make
girl,
bad decisions that other
get
people, and I
ready.
should, by now,
Get
I should.
ready.
I'm a Black woman. I should know
Right.
that I'm going to be
Right.
disappointed. I'm going to be
I'm
disappointed.
sitting there talking to you on the phone. I'm like, well, this isn't going to be great for her.
So I will say it. Me and Marcel, and this is, Janet, my wife, at every point when we're disappointed at every Oscars because it's so white, we always say, we're done. We're never doing this again. And I will say, cinematography, I will say I was super excited about the first woman of color that won. That was exciting. But Tammy and I both texted, and because this was a thread, and I said, if they win, does this mean that they're not going to win Best Picture, Best
Of
Director?
course. This is like when I know you don't want to compare it to basketball, but this is like when they had to give Asia Wilson the co-defensive player of the year because
Right.
they knew she was about to win the finals and the MVP.
Right.
And they're like, we better water this down.
Right.
Add some
And
milk to the
so,
latte.
with something that has been around 100 years and has only had two Black men, and Ryan Coogler is the second Black man to win for screenplay. In the history of 100 years, this was the first woman of color to win. And Michael B. Jordan sits in a very small list who he did win, and we were all moved. But he was
I just got to pause for that.
what
That
happened?
jacket of his, that coat.
Tight.
Oof.
Let me just
Woof.
tell you. Let me just
Right
tell
when
you.
I
All
think
the
Michael B.
people
Jordan
look
isn't
good.
there's something
They were
about
looking
Michael B.
good.
Jordan that is like he's not my type in that he is a little too uh like too commercial model-y looking, right? Like that's just
Okay.
like not my type generally. But then every time though, you look at him and you're like, "Oh my God.
You're
That
like, God is
smile."
good. He started with
Woof,
his speech as God is good. And you were
girl.
thinking,
And
when you saw him, you're like, you know what? God is good. God is great.
girl, I was looking at that coat. I was like, "Okay,
I mean, but I
Michael."
will say, I was disappointed. Sinners was undeniably the best film, $400 million at the box office, record nominations, the ownership deal that I think killed Ryan Coogler, in which in 25 years he's going to own all of the rights. I mean, and I said Autumn, who won for cinematography. And I will say, I think beyond the movie, who cares? It won BET, it won SAG, it won lots of things. BET.
BET,
Listen, we always got to go
girl.
back to our black. We
If
always got
it
to go back
didn't
to our
win B
people.
if it didn't win BET, we would have had a real problem.
Okay, maybe, maybe. That's where, you go. I will say that what is a much more beautiful story is his relationship with Mrs. Cooper and his wife, who is the executive producer, and the amount of amazing Black women he surrounded himself with to make this film. And so I think we celebrate it. I'm looking forward to the sequel. And, Tammy said there's no sequel. But I look forward to just celebrating his next film. And I think I mean, I get caught up because I have high aspirations and hopes that someone's gonna realize and pick the right thing. But true to the world. One Battle, which is a MAGA film in theory about white men who are attractive to Black women and basically use them as tools for whatever. I was, it was disappointing that it ended up winning Best Picture and Director and everything else.
I don't
And
have
then
a lot to add because I didn't see
I still
either
need
of
to
them,
right. All right.
but I will say, um, yes, I feel like I admire you for I said it in jest, but I do admire you for the hope, right?
You
I
know
do
what?
admire you for the
Barack
optimism.
Obama, keep hope. We
It
have to
it
hope.
is, it is, reassuring that you have people in your life who know that whether it's your best friend or your wife, who know that they're there for the letdown for you and
I'm
are
in a
there to
spiral,
support
and I'm
you.
in a spiral when I spiral and come down. But if you follow me on social, you know that I love the fashion. I show up for the fashion.
Yeah.
I will say the fashion at the Oscars was a little,
I looked at the
Tiana.
fashion for you.
I
I
mean, it
looked
was
at it.
okay, right?
I
What I
liked
love,
Tiana's dress. I
it's
liked
okay, but it was okay.
yeah.
If
How
you
about,
looked,
wait, how about,
oh,
uh, um, Ava DuVernay? Oh my
I will
god.
say she looked, and she
Whoa.
brought a man. I will say
Oh,
she debuted. She said, "I'm very
oh.
proud." Someone asked her on the carpet, "What are you proud of this year?" She goes, "I'm proud that I'm here, and that I'm here with my man that I've been hiding." I said, "Okay,
What?
sister, you better."
Oh, did she
I was like,
say that?
"Yes." I was
Wow. Well,
like, "I may post."
that
She
dress was
looked,
fire.
and she was snatched to the gods. Everybody
That
was.
dress
No,
was
no one ate.
fire. No
Um,
no one ate this decade.
Nobody is eating. Nobody is eating.
It is
Nobody.
really actually my husband and I were just having this
Emma
conversation.
Stone, so thin.
Oh, Demi Moore?
I mean, last year she actually was nominated and she looked really good and healthy. I don't know what's going on. Something's
I
happening.
Los Angeles will
Take you, suck
Los
you in.
Angeles will it will really is deceiving. It is not it is not reality. And
Nobody
we
looks
live
like that.
here, and so I think we almost get used to the lunacy in day-to-day life until you watch it on a red carpet when people are meant to look kind of like dolls, right? Like they're showing off
Right.
clothes, so they're meant to look like dolls, and then you're like, "This is not anybody else's reality." Like, LA has a problem. It is really, like,
No.
it's disturbing.
No. And
Yeah.
then normal people look so normal that they're like,
And
I can't
normal
imagine them
people
standing next to them.
Priyanka Chopra, who is not
Oh my God.
obviously, she's not a big person at all. Compared to these other
Gorgeous.
people, she looks
Gorgeous.
bigger than them, and you're like, "She is
I know.
probably a
I was
size
feeling
4."
right.
He is probably like a 4 to 6, and
She's she's not
she looks
bigger than that,
no. And these
but
people,
she
like, she
looked
looks
healthy. She looked
yes,
healthy. She looked
she
unlike
did,
everybody else.
but
She looked pretty healthy.
she looks
I
gorgeous.
will say one thing.
Regina King
If
looks
you if
gorgeous too. I loved that dress. Regina King's
Reg,
dress.
I will say Regina King, who, if you look on the interwebs, she clearly did not enjoy her press run because she was just like, I'm here. I'm supporting,
Oh.
but I hope Sinners does well, even though she was in one battle.
Oh, was she in that?
Yeah, okay. Yes, she is in one battle. I will say, if you have time, look at the fashion. So the people who went to the after party, Queen Latifah. When I say her and her wife, chef's kiss.
She's always her stylist, though.
Whoever is her stylist, it's clearly not
Yeah.
La Roche. Whoever is her stylist, because he was looking, his wig
Who's
was
LaRoche?
twisted. La Roche is a
Oh,
Zendaya stylist. Everybody, the wig. I'm like, why are we doing this wig? Why are we doing
right.
this?
Right,
What?
right.
So,
Look, I
but
feel like when I win not win, because 'cause I'm not gonna win it. When I earn a whole bunch of money, I'm going right to Queen Latifah's stylist, and I'm like, "Get
right, yeah. I know
I
she
don't
likes
care if I need to
Ali
go to
Saab.
In-N-Out. Just get it."
Speaking of In and Out, that's where Michael B.
I saw
Jordan went
him.
after
I
the,
saw that.
I saw all these sisters screaming, Michael!
He was almost crying in there. I don't
People
even
loved him.
understand by the way, I don't even understand how those people got to that In-N-Out because I, at 11 o'clock, was trying to drive through, like, Hollywood, unfortunately, because I made a bad
He has
mistake.
security, though. He has security.
No, but the streets. I'm saying
They got him through.
how these other people got to the In-N-Out because the In-N-Out was blocked. I'm like, "Where did these people camp out? Like, where
I
were
don't
these
know if they
people?"
knew he was going. I just think In and Out always
No,
looks
no, no.
busy.
Where that In-N-Out is I could tell which one it is so close to the theater. I'm saying they had all those streets blocked. So
Oh,
how
I
those
don't know how
people
they
got up in there, they must
listen,
have
the
just been
train.
waiting
They were waiting on the
for their
train.
train.
But, it
You know
wasn't so
what? They probably did.
The Oscars wasn't the only thing that happened this week, and, we might end
No.
up talking about Pastor Bryant at some point and Target.
By the way, I'm still not going.
Me either. Nobody is, and no Black women are. They're not. We're not. So,
Look.
thank you for speaking for none of us. Um, but and speaking for yourself, whatever deal you got, congratulations. We support you and congratulations. But we are
And I
not.
hope that
We're not.
money will help you build the
Church,
new
the
part of
church
your
wing,
church you need. The
the
church
church
wing you've
wing,
been trying to
the
build.
first
Yeah.
lady's church wing.
Yeah,
But what
yeah,
else
yeah.
was happening? Yes, what else was happening this week?
Hello, Selection Sunday.
Okay.
Oh
Well,
my god.
explain to some of
Look,
us, since I have to
okay,
explain
fine.
about what Oscars was.
Yes,
What is that?
Selection Sunday is, where they put everyone hears about March Madness. Most people
Yes.
probably have some idea of what that is. Well, Selection Sunday is when they take all of the teams who've qualified basically
Right.
for March Madness, and then they place them in the brackets so that they know who they play
Brackets.
first, whose bracket they're in, and then what the road to the championship would look like for each team.
Okay.
So there's 68. I will give some stats to help people.
Let's get
There's
some stats.
68 teams that go. Previously, it was 64. In 2022, they changed this. So there's 68 teams. Um, there's four play-in games. So that means like people who are on the bubble, they'll play in to get into the bracket. But
Okay.
32 of those teams are folks who won their division championships. So that's things like the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC. So if they won kind of their regular season championship, they get placed in automatically, 32 teams.
Okay.
And then the other 32 are determined by some scoring mechanism. I could get into it if we really want to talk about it.
Like the
But
Oscars, there's someone votes on this?
yes, it's a 12 people who are kind of elected, and basically it's
Yeah.
what your regular season ranking was, your total points scored against teams that are ranked. So it's not just how well you did overall, but when you
Right.
played teams that were good, how well did you do? And a bunch of other factors. So then they pick the rest of the 32 and then they place them. And then Selection Sunday, and they do this for men and for women, they walk through each team and each bracket and they announce where each team is. So they'll say, seed number 1 in the Sacramento, this division
You're
that's playing in
playing.
Sacramento, blah, 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 blah.
Right. Right.
And then they announce every team so that you then can see the complete bracket. And then
And
from
then is that what people
Sunday,
bet on? Because I know people be
yes,
betting. I think I just got
exactly.
a message regarding brackets from someone on my team.
Yes. So then from today until like Wednesday, Thursday, when you have to fill out your bracket. After that, it's over. You
Okay.
can't fill it in.
Do you do this? Do you do the bracket thing?
Yes, but it's a very
You
complex
won,
thing
I
for me.
think. You're pretty
Yeah,
good. You're pretty
I'm
good.
very good. I'm very good. But here's my challenge is my team is not so great this year. And so it is very hard. I have to choose between am
US.
I a loyalist and I ride for my team and I just like you, blind hope, and I just hope
Listen,
they're going to win and I have a bracket that has them going all the way? Or am I a realist and I'm like, girl, they're not getting past the second round. You're going to have to write down that they are losing. So
you know what?
I'm gonna do one of each. I'm splitting the difference this year. I'm gonna do one
Okay.
bracket that has them at least going to the Sweet 16, and then one bracket that is a reality and is them
And your
winning one game
team,
and getting knocked out.
your team is USC, right?
Yeah. The University of Southern California Trojans, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we I don't know if everybody knows your team.
Fight
Your
on.
team.
Fight
Right.
on.
Fight
Yes.
on. Fight
And if they
on,
win their
USC.
first game, though, they have to play University of South Carolina, the other USC, Don
Yes.
Staley's
Well,
team.
right. But
Um,
well, and we can't go against Dawn. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't think I can.
okay. Well, um,
Um, but okay, so this is exciting. I think my wife was watching some basketball game, it was like the world championships that she was watching. That was
yeah,
yesterday
she's
too.
watching that is professional women.
Yeah. So she was very much there was a lot happening,
And we're
the
still
last.
waiting for a CBA
So the
as
question
of
is, okay,
today.
the big question, is there going to be a WNBA season?
I
Jessica,
don't know.
officially prediction.
Yes, I think there will be. I think it'll be a shortened season and they're gonna
Okay.
put some pressure on the I think they'll have to shorten the amount of games, but yes, I think there'll be a season.
So, people would be like, why are you guys talking about Oscars and sports?
Well, I don't think people will
And
because they know who we are, and
they
I feel
know we
like
are. Yeah. Yeah.
we're pretty
Especially
obsessed with
Cheryl.
both of those
Miss
things.
Cheryl knows. Miss Cheryl,
She's
Michelle's like,
traveling. She might be
Todd,
listening this while she travels.
well, yeah, I definitely know she was following my fashion.
Oh,
That
was
she was,
she? Is that
yeah,
that
yeah, so if you
tracks.
like.
That tracks.
But these two topics, in some ways introduce a similar theme when you're thinking about someone else deciding your fate and you holding on to hope and a prayer
Right.
that maybe these people will make a good decision about your favorite,
Yeah.
or is our favorite subjective? I mean, really,
Well,
you
yes.
know,
Favorites
we're
are
looking at the
subjective.
best. I know with the
Yeah.
Oscars and the Academy Award, I mean, I wish it was based on gross numbers, performance, but none of that is, I mean, it's based on who you liked or connected with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's yeah, you and I were talking about like why do I mean, besides the fact that you watch a lot of movies and I watch a lot of women's sports. Oh wait, sidebar by the way. This is our third sidebar, another bar. But what I will say, I
I like,
realized
they're important.
the other interesting thing I brought up earlier to JCL, I think because the whole like body image and why women look so strikingly different to me is because I watch so much women's sports. So I'm
And
so
women
used to
are
seeing women's bodies in a
strong,
very different way, strong and
right?
tall and, like unapologetic. And
Right.
so then seeing this like place where you're supposed to kind of look meek and like, like
I don't know if it's
demure.
meek, right? I
Yeah.
think it's
Wha-
more it's just it's
Some.
just thin.
Yeah,
They
but
don't
even
they
these
don't wanna
pictures,
look meek.
Demi Moore had this look where
Blessings.
her actually see her tongue in between her teeth, like it was meant to look like, oh, like demure, like I'm like please, like help me. I'm just a little.
But I think it's interesting that then you look at Tiana Taylor. She's thin but strong, right? When
Yeah,
you look at her body, she's muscular.
yeah.
Okay, maybe.
I
No,
don't know. She
not
looks
some
a little different than I feel like Tiana Taylor looks a little different than music Tiana Taylor. I feel like Hollywood. She got the Hollywood bite a little bit on that.
bit of intervention.
Okay, anyway. All right,
That was a sidebar. That was such a sidebar.
this idea that yes, we obviously are, into them because we like these 2 genres. But I think what we were talking about that's interesting is they're both why do they feel so high stakes? And it's
Yeah,
because it's again it's a structured process that's set up to kind of
yep,
determine by a select group of people who is the
right,
best,
right.
what is the model, what are we all trying to strive for? And
Yeah,
we kind of actually talked about this a little bit in the AI episode. If we don't spend some time to acknowledge that our current structures have biases, how do we
absolutely.
expect when we turn over the keys to the car to computers and automation, they're just
Oh,
modeling on what's already been done.
absolutely. No, I mean, I will think of. I mean, I'll speak to the body. I mean, the Oscars body is a body of people who, and they've now did a push for diversity, so they don't only have people who are in the 90s and 80s. But I would say that the group of people are majority white men, majority white people, and they don't understand a Jim Crow horror movie. They don't
Right.
connect with it. They're not
How many
c
how many people are in this voting body for Academy Awards?
I think we have some stats, right? About 10,000 members.
Oh, right. 10,000.
Um,
Right, but they don't get to
and
vote.
they all get to vote.
They all get
They
to
get
vote,
to
but
vote.
it's like you start by voting and then they narrow it down, right?
Right.
I feel
So
like there's some yeah,
they all what they and it's obviously it's from different fields in the entertainment business, right? They all vote for that large, and then they kind of narrow it down. So you really, out of all the films that were released this year, only 10 films were nominated
right.
for Best Picture. It used to be 5. And out of those actors, the many actors that that acted in films, only I think it was like 5, little bit about
Yeah.
5 are nominated. So when you think about the categories, this year they added casting as a new category. They haven't added a new casting category in years.
Hmm.
And that I don't know why they added casting, maybe in order to pull a little diversity in there. But I think the facts are the facts. I will say the best song was a K-pop song from Korea. So I
Yeah.
think you could tell that there was a little sprinkling of trying to be diverse
Right.
and having it on performative ways. But when you think about the main characters and the main character energy of those who actually got awards, let's think about that.
Yeah. Depressing. Yeah, I think that you're right. I mean, obviously, yes, they've done some very intentional things to try to diversify after hashtag Oscars so white was like took over.
We all
But
remember hashtag so white.
but it's like these are structure, like you said, it's been around 100 years. So this is a structure that's going to take
Right,
quite a while to
right,
really shift to reflect the
right.
population and movie these people are like 100 years old. Some of these people are like 100 years old and been on doing this for
There,
like ever.
right,
So you got
right,
to kind of
right.
wait till that group like cycles out too, right?
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah, you
still
kinda
like,
have to, and you hope, and even you still though, the majority institutions, you think about Paramount obtaining, I'm gonna say it, obtaining BET. What's gonna happen to BET? You think about the these structures in place who are really not really celebrating diversity. You think about NBC Universal, who's laying off a certain group of a large group of people because they had an
oh,
Africa production
NBC.
company, and NBC Universal, and they're doing layoffs, and they're ending that. So whatever diversity that we were hoping to have, I think about Sinners, and I think about movies like Sinners. Who's going to really support those when the majority is not really interested in those type of stories?
Well, that's where we get challenged with kind of some of these structures is it's not the majority of people, it's the majority
Right.
of the voting body
Mahdi.
in
Right.
this industry, right?
So people will
Because
still
like
go, right? Yeah.
right. And but to your point, like if it's subjective criteria and it's not what are the people saying, that these are now awards just based on a group of people who've been identified to be experts
Right.
in movie making.
Yeah.
It's like,
But, but it goes across. It's not just movie making. You think
no,
about elections. Whew, we went, you think about Texas and the election most recently with Jasmine Crockett. You think about Kamala Harris. You talking about media, talking about academic and tenure. I know so
mm,
many of my friends throughout the country, people of color who are trying to get tenure, but this body, this group who will then judge your work and say you're not quite there.
right.
Um, and then sports,
Yeah,
governing bodies. And who are those people?
yeah.
Majority.
Well, yeah, well, with the NCAA is interesting. I mean, I don't know enough probably to say, like, is diversity a factor? But bias for sure, there are biases. So, for example, and I'm not going to get so far on a soapbox about this, but I do know Jen and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. UConn is a storied franchise. UConn women's basketball is storied franchise. Gino Ariama has been the head coach there for, you know, I don't know, probably 45 years, I'm guessing, but like a very long time. And a ton of professional basketball players come out of there. He recruits notoriously very specific type of players. You know who played at UConn. You can tell it's a kind of pedigree type of thing, right? They have, they're often the number one seed. They have the weakest schedule ever. They play basically no top teams all year long. They skate through the conference. Their
Hmm.
conference is trash. And then the non-conference games, they don't schedule hard teams. Now they did play USC this year and beat them, but that's another thing. But they don't play hard teams. So then when it comes to this governing body and the criteria they've set out, it's like, okay, well, what is it? Their point differential, their offensive efficiency, their defensive efficiency, and strength of schedule is just one component. And so that's the
Right.
only thing that like they don't have, but everything else, yeah, when you're playing teams that can't put up
Or
30 points,
right.
your scoring margin definitely looks good. And so they have teams like that who have these storied histories who always get favored over other teams. And
Right.
I would cannot even believe I'm going on record to say that a team like UCLA, who it is
Uh-oh.
not my favorite team, like
Uh-oh.
by a, but they have they have played the strongest schedule of any of the top
Okay.
seeds. I think
Right.
they're a better team than UConn. They get no press. Their coach gets no respect. No one's talking about them because they're not in the top 10 most watched teams. And their coach, she's a woman. She's not a white
Mm.
male. If you look at
Mhm.
the other top seeds, you have some white, loud men. And it's so you don't always get a fair shake. And again, it's
Right.
only 12 people and they do rotate it, but it's 12
But
people
girl, it's
who are
12
supposed
people.
to not be biased, who are supposed to not be biased when they come to this. It's like,
Right.
okay, how are you not going to be biased when you know that one team has been the best in the country for the past 30 years? You're always going to be like, oh, they're the best without even looking at the
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah. I mean, I think it sounds like even similar to how the voting and the campaign, we call it the campaign
Right.
to to actually get selected, for your consideration. They start a campaign way when the movie starts coming out. And then you think about the private meetings, the screenings, all of the different all of the money all of the money. And you think about all of the award shows from the Globes to the SAGs to to BET, all of them
Don't
sort of
forget the N. Oh, we're not
don't
supposed to
forget
say NAACP anymore. You're supposed to say
one
NAACP.
girl NAA. Okay. NAA.
NAACP. They
NA.
said
Well,
double
listen,
A's. They said double A's like black people making it black, which is true.
double
I
A,
and
double A. Um, but I will say all of those award seasons lead to the Oscars. And, any little bit of controversy, Timothy Chalamet talking about ballet, ballet and theater. I mean, people are saying that's why. No, that's not why he lost, but it just didn't help. Didn't quite help his case. And I'm not a fan of his anyway. But I will say that all of those, it's like I think they spend 5 to 15 million per film. particularly for those box office films. Can you imagine the films that didn't have the $5 to $15 million budget that were actually really good that maybe we don't even remember,
Right. Right. Yeah. Wow.
but maybe were better quality than that crazy the crazy film that I
Yeah.
won't talk about again.
Wow. That's like poor Iowa State. Look, shout out to Iowa State. They put them in the bracket first game against you. And this is, you'll remember Iowa State from earlier this season. We talked about Audi Crooks is on that team.
I
She's the
think I
sis.
vaguely
She's a
remember.
center.
Oh, okay.
She's a
Yeah.
center, light skin, big girl. She plays in the middle.
Oh
She
my God,
scores
I
like
love
30
her. I
points.
will say,
Yes.
how do you pronounce her name? I want to make sure I don't mess up.
Audi Crooks.
Audi
Audi
Crooks.
Crooks.
I have actually posted her recently because she was talking about just like her body and how
Hmm.
the controversy around her body, but she is just doing it when it comes to scoring.
Yeah.
Look at me
Well,
actually knowing what I'm talking.
guess what? They're
She's
going to
been
get
doing
knocked
really
out.
well.
They're going to get knocked out in
Oh,
round 1 because they're seeded against first game against UConn. So
is she? Do you think she's going to? Well, do you think she's going to be selected?
for the W, it's a hard.
Yeah. Is it time? What year is she anyway?
Well, none yet. She is no, she's not timed to go to the W, but I think that it's an
She's
interesting. I mean, if you really want the answer to this,
yeah.
um, Biggs is an interesting uh role in the W. The W, like the NBA, a little bit like don't play with a traditional five. A lot of teams don't play with a traditional five or a traditional center right now, and so people who don't have a lot of versatility it's a
Hmm.
different kind of game in the W. They move a lot right now. The evolution of the game is, remember like say 20 years ago, this will be good in like is it 20 years ago? Maybe 25, 30. In the NBA when you had big centers like Shaq.
Yeah, Shaq. Like all,
He's scoring. They don't play like that anymore. The
and he's
NBA
throwing his
plays
body away
fast and
around.
the NBA plays a lot of 3-pointers and it's a lot less in the post. That's how the W is too. And so people like Lauren Betts,
Mm.
people like Audi Crooks, I'm not saying they're
I
not
will
going to do
say
well,
that
but
the
it's
women
tougher.
they're bigger, they are more muscular, but they are thin. There's some thin ones. When I was there, I was like thinking, you know, these ladies need a
Oh,
sandwich.
you're watching you're watching the Sparks. So you're talking about
LA
Cameron
and the
Brink.
Sparks. The Sparks is very LA, very run. Yeah, they think they're runway ready.
I'm just saying players like her and Lauren Betts. Lauren Betts is UCLA center. She's
Hmm.
6'7". She's mostly a post player. She doesn't shoot from the outside. She's not moving really outside the key. That game is really, she's going to have a tough time translating that into the W. But
Hmm.
it's not to say she can't. Last thing I'm going to do is tell a woman she can't.
Right. I really hope
Okay.
not because
No, girl.
if she hears this episode, she might
No,
just
shut
come
up.
for your neck.
No, I love Audi Crook's game. I think I told you, I said they're getting disrespected
And
putting them
maybe
against UConn.
she needs to come and come for somebody's head and be
Well,
tough and
they beat
toughen those
Iowa this
chicks up.
year. They beat Iowa, Caitlin Clark's school that everyone loves to bandwagon on. And they beat them.
So, listen, what we've been talking about is structural challenges, institutions that,
That we
you know,
love and are
that
still
we
challenged,
love.
and their structural institutions are holding us back.
They are holding us Black people. And you know what? Going back to, I'm not sure we can expect the institutions to change because we all keep waiting for those generations to change. We've been waiting for people to vote to be, I'm not saying die out,
To
but I'm
die.
just saying
Oh.
I wasn't going to say that. But I think that what's the solution, Jessica? So we love these things. We love film. We appreciate some of these institutions, and maybe it's just superficial, but do we create our own? There's a narrative out there that this is why we need to have our own productions. This is why is that what we do? We're going to create, I mean, we did, if you think
Was
about
that Tyler? Was that Tyler
yeah,
Perry
if you
saying that?
think about sports and you
Right.
think about what those women created, what is the name of the season
You
that's
talking about the
happening right now?
Negro? Oh, girl, I thought you were talking about the Negro Leagues. I was like, what are you talking about?
We're not talking about Negro League. I was talking about what is the name of
Unrivaled,
the
unrivaled,
the
unrivaled.
Unrivaled, not the Negro League. Look at that,
Uh,
Unrivaled. So do we need, I mean, and I was listening to the
Evaluated at
person,
340 million right now,
when you think about sometimes you have to start your own in order
and
to
do different.
pressure change.
Yeah,
And
you
I
have to
think
start
that,
different. And
yeah,
I think like what you were saying, so what's interesting
Unrivaled.
about that you bring up Unrivaled is so their TV ratings were down this year over last year,
Okay.
but their live ticket sales were up, their merchandise sales were up, their social media engagement was up. And what I
Right.
think is interesting about what you're saying is starting something new. What they're
Hmm.
also doing is saying the metric we're going to live and die by doesn't need to be TV viewership either. So we're not just changing what we're the
Right.
product, we're also
Right.
changing how we're delivering it to you and what matters to us. And
Right.
that is actually very different. And so that's
Right.
like when you talk about your films, like how do you not only say we're changing what we're delivering, but we're also changing what's important here? They're like, we don't care so much. We already know more women don't watch more people don't watch women's sports than men's sports. So why are we
Right.
going to continue to use that as a meter stick? But we're about to sell
Right.
out these stadiums and we're about to sell this merch because we know women are going to buy it and men too are going to buy it. And like, let's change the narrative. I'm all for it. Look,
Yeah, and I think that I'm not saying Tyler Perry is the example, but there needs to be some other ones that, come up that decide to pool funds in order to, you know what? I mean, we like I said, we laugh about double N the double N WACP or
not double N
NAACP.
girl.
Double N,
N
double N,
A A C P.
we laugh
Get
about the BET Awards, but you know what? We need to create our own Oscars.
girl, remember the Source Awards?
Girl,
We
not the
created plenty
Source
of buzz.
Awards. Girl, we need to not be, remember the Source Awards when was it Suge Knight stabbing someone? I can't
Yes.
remember. But yeah. So I'm gonna not remember those times, but I'm gonna say that we invest in ourselves. Ryan Coogler knew best. In 25 years, he owns his own rights. So, and I think those make people uncomfortable because those are things that we normally don't do. But we have to know our value as sports and in film. We have to know our value. And maybe it doesn't go, maybe it's not the normal places that we are, we think we should be going to or supporting or watching. Maybe I'm not watching the Oscars next year.
Maybe I'm only cheering for women's basketball teams who are coached by women.
Maybe. But I think we have the choice. We have we have the choice to decide, and we can sit here and debate next year on what happened to that favorite black film or that favorite Latin film or that favorite K-pop song, but or that,
And they played them off, right? They brought on the music
they were
fast,
so
cut him off.
disrespect. And I will say one thing that happened after the film won, Tiana Taylor, the film that like I said, I didn't like. Backstage in security, Tiana Taylor was shoved. There was a lot of clips on her basically saying to the security guard who shoved her, "Why are you putting your hands on a female and being disrespected?" There were a lot of white people around her, and none of them got shoved but her. And I thought to myself, that is just typically, this is sometimes we're disrespected. And I was just thinking about how the media is talking about her. You can take her out of the ghetto, like all of that, right? And I'm just like, listen, that wouldn't happen at the Source Awards. But Sean Penn said, "I will burn it if you give it to me."
Did he
And they
say
gave
that?
it to him. Yes, they gave it to him. He won the award. He won for he won for best supporting actor, and
He
he
was
did
in
not show
Ukraine,
up.
right?
He
Yeah.
did not. He probably was in Iran or Ukraine.
Jay
Um,
still say he was maybe he made it up, but he said he was in Ukraine. He said he was having a meeting with
he probably was. He said, "Listen," he said,
Zelensky.
you can give me that award, but I'm not going to prioritize
Well,
it
why
because it's
but
not
tell me
important."
why did these people who don't like this film make it then? I'm totally confused.
You know what? It clearly they believed in something because they participated in it. But then you see the backlash, and maybe you think about it twice afterwards.
Oh,
I
afterwards.
mean,
Okay.
Tiana is not questioning her part.
What
She
did
feels really
Regina
good.
King say, you said?
Regina was quiet. Regina has been pretty
Oh,
quiet on the press tours, and they've been talking about how she's just been like, "Yeah, I support all." It's like I feel like she wanted to say, "I support everybody black,"
oh,
but she didn't. But
got it.
I'm not sure. I mean, it'll be interesting if you saw the movie. It is a mess. It's a horrible movie.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I'm not really tempted to see it now.
but it was not better than the movie that grossed $400 million at the box office and had more interesting, beautiful music, beautiful cinematography. It was a beautiful film. But so Jessica, what did you learn? What are you learning
I'm learning that I have to help Tanya manage her expectations
every time?
every time something is going to come up where we are depending
Election.
on other Americans to not let her down. I am learning that I really am learning that I think it is very healthy for me as a woman to watch as much women's sports as I do, because I don't ever not feel good about my body after watching women's sports.
Yes,
And I
let's
will
go
tell
back
you, it's like
there.
so
Girl,
quick watching a red carpet where you're like,
I
you
feel
can
bad.
fall into that fast.
Right.
So I think I definitely, I think in LA we get swept up sometimes,
Yeah.
and it's like that's not reality, like
Yeah.
that these people are living. So
Yeah.
I don't know that these are
Yeah.
big, meaty things that I've learned this week, but
Yeah, you know what? I will at one point learn that I cannot trust in systems that are set to work against me at some point. And I think that in a world that we talked about, the global darkness, in a world that's dark, you have joy in your, sports. And I do find joy in my films. And we're just going to do our best and continue to support things that we believe in. And everyone out there, we always appreciate you listening. Like, subscribe, listen. And you know what?
vote. Vote for
Vote.
us in the best podcast award.
Because we want to be on that red carpet worrying about our weight.
So please vote for
So
us.
please. So please. But well, I think this was in some ways, um, two systems
I thought you
and
were
both
saying two sisters just
two
talking about systems.
sisters. But thanks, Jessica. Like, subscribe, listen. Thank y'all for listening.
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Hey, it's Jessica. Thanks for listening to Girl Call Me. If you have something to add or a story to share, come on over to Instagram or Facebook and join the conversation. Also, make sure you follow and subscribe Girl Call Me. You don't want to miss when we release new episodes. Thanks for listening.